It's almost 2025, so today I'm going to share with you 25 simple habits that you can start practicing every single day to radically improve your life in the next year. Let's dive straight in. 1. Fix the basics. Before anything else, and we'll get into some good stuff in this video, make sure you get 8 hours of sleep a night, eat a clean diet, hydrate, limit your alcohol and caffeine intake, and exercise at least a few times per week. 2. Write out your vision for life, then work backwards from there. In The Everything Store, a 2013 book about the rise of Amazon, Brad Stone quotes an email from former Amazon employee Joy Covey. I don't know of any other company that has created such a juggernaut while staying so true to the founder's original vision. It's almost as if he fired an arrow and then followed its arc. There's real power in knowing where you want to go in life and figuring out how to get there. And this goes beyond making money. Many other parts of life matter too, like family, social life, where you live, and how much control you have over your schedule. If you want to dive deeper into this, check out Cal Newport's podcast Deep Questions. He often discusses what he calls lifestyle-centric career planning. 3. Don't be married to your opinions. So I think a lot of suffering can be avoided if we're a bit more open-minded. When we get stuck in our ways, it's tough to appreciate the nuances and see people with different views as fully human. When I was working as a corporate lawyer, I had to put myself in the other party's shoes constantly. I could only really serve my client well when I understood where the other side was coming from. But how often do we do this in our everyday lives? We tend to box people into labels. Religious or atheist, Republican or Democrat, vegan or carnivore, native or immigrant, socialist or capitalist. And then we demonize them for it. If you can learn to be flexible with your opinions, it can feel like a superpower. You won't feel threatened when someone has a different point of view. Think about it. If you take a hammer and you smash a glass plate, it will shatter into a million pieces. But if you take that same hammer and you smash it into water, it will leave a ripple for a moment, but then it will settle back to normal. That's how I see opinions. They should be like clothes. We wear them to different occasions, but they don't define us. Just like we aren't our clothes, we aren't our opinions either. 4. Be more curious. Have you ever heard someone say that if you find someone else boring, you're just not asking the right questions? I find the same applies to life. We can get so caught up in the daily grind, along with our annoyances and worries, that life can start to feel flat. We can look at a plant and say, that's a plant, thinking we know it just because we labeled it. But to a baby, a plant is not a plant. It's a texture, colors, and a smell. It's a whole universe in itself. We tend to lose that curiosity as we grow older and feel burdened by life's responsibilities. Do you live to survive or to feel alive? Curiosity doesn't need to cost any money or take up much time. It's more of a mindset shift. 5. Ask your partner, can I give you a tip? So one day I was doing the dishes and my girlfriend walked in and she asked, can I give you a tip? I said, sure, why not? And then she suggested that I put the knives upside down in the drying rack. I had put them like this, because when they're upside down, you can't accidentally cut yourself. Now, great tip, of course. And this has kind of become a thing in a relationship where one person may say to the other, can I give you a tip? And the other person knows what's coming, but yeah, who can have a problem with a tip, right? And this is so much better than telling someone that they're doing it wrong, because that kind of talk can easily lead to a fight. 6. Listen to your gut more. So there's this quote, I believe by Mark Twain. In my life, there were many tragedies, and some actually happened. That's what overthinking does. The mind is like a restless tide. When we're trying to figure out what step to take next, it's easy to overthink it and get stuck because the mind can argue both ways. But often, the answer is already within you. The gut knows. It doesn't need to think about what's right. So what you need to do is find a place of stillness, quiet the mind, and listen. And you'll intuitively know what the next move is. 7. Be okay with being bored. I believe that as society becomes more and more fixated on productivity and efficiency, it's increasingly important for us to find small pockets of time to simply be bored. Having endless information at our fingertips isn't something we should take lightly. We need time away from our devices to see the bigger picture. The off switch is as important as the on switch. We need time where our mind is free from input from other minds, where we're just left to our own thoughts and can listen to our gut more, without media and other content telling us what to do or how to feel. 8. Have a cup of tea with your younger self. The other day, I was looking at old photos from when I was young. When I saw pictures of myself as a toddler, I felt a lot of affection. But as I turned the pages and saw myself at around 11 or 12 years old, I felt something completely different. It's hard to put into words, but I was judgmental. I didn't like looking at myself. I found myself resenting my younger self for not standing up to bullies more, even if that meant getting into a fight. But then I had this insight. My younger self did the best he could to navigate those difficult circumstances. And those experiences shaped me into the man I am today. I don't want to have negative feelings about my younger self. I want to have self-compassion. So I decided to have a cup of tea with my younger self. I pulled up a photo from when I was around 12 years old, looked my younger self in the eyes, and asked, what would you like to talk about? Is there something you would like to tell me? You could do the same. I think childhood can be tough on a lot of us, and it can leave marks we might not even realize are there. 9. Try something new each month. Trying something new each month is a great way to keep things fresh. Whether it's taking a cooking class, exploring a new hiking trail, or learning a skill online, these little adventures can reignite your passion and curiosity. The comfort zone is a nice place to be. I mean, that's why it's called comfort zone, right? But nothing really flourishes there. When you step outside of it, you open yourself up to personal growth and you will get to know yourself better. Each new thing you try can teach you something about yourself, spark your creativity, and may help you connect with other people. 10. Show up on time. A decade ago, I attended a weekend seminar with 10 other people. I returned from lunch just before 2 p.m. and the seminar hadn't started yet. We would start again at 2 p.m. So I went to the bathroom. And when I wanted to enter the hall, and it was like 1 or 2 minutes after 2 p.m. by then, the door was locked and everyone else was inside. And they wouldn't let me in. So only 5 minutes later was the door opened and then the coach put me on the spot. He asked, why are you not on time? And I was like, well, I was on time, but I had to go to the bathroom first and, then it was 1 or 2 minutes after 2 p.m. So he really put me on the spot, making an example of me, telling me how I was not on time. And I got heated and I was this close to walking out. But luckily I didn't. And when the seminar was over, the coach and I talked it out and he explained why he had put me on the spot. The coach said that he always did this with someone during a seminar to get everyone's attention and showcase the importance of honoring your word. Now you can question the method he used, but this experience has always stuck with me. Since then, I've made it a point to be on time. Very few people do this consistently. It's socially acceptable to show up late and have some vague excuse. But I've come to see showing up on time as a sign of respect, not just to the other person, but also to myself. I want to be someone who is true to their word. And this is an easy way, a simple habit if you will, to confirm that to myself on a daily basis. 11. Go deeper. We often only scratch the surface of things. Did you ever see that video where Jacob Collier explains harmony in 5 levels of difficulty, from a 7-year-old boy to jazz musician Herbie Hancock? In life, I think there are many things that can be examined at different levels. For example, author Jenny Odell doesn't leave her house without a jeweler's loupe, which magnifies everything by 10 times. And when she looks through it, it opens up a whole new universe. One place where I apply this is in a museum. Many people just go from artwork to artwork. They pull up their phones, take a picture, and move on. I was the same until I visited the Uffizi in Florence for the first time in 2019. I did a Rick Steves audio tour and it was liberating. I realized that I didn't have to see everything in the museum from start to finish. I could instead focus on the highlights and go in depth on those. So next time you visit a museum, especially if it's a big one, don't try to do the whole thing at once. Instead, pick a wing, pick your favorite paintings, or do a guided tour or audio tour. Do those first and don't take photos. Immerse yourself in the experience. You can always go back at the end of your visit and take some snapshots of the artworks you like the best. 12. Name your plants. In the past, I had fake plants in my apartment. If you're familiar with my older videos, you may have noticed them. The reason was that I sometimes would be away for months and real plants wouldn't survive. But last year, my girlfriend and I stayed in a temporary apartment for 4 months. And I had one plant with 1 leaf. We called it Lola. With time, care and sunlight, Lola grew 2 more leaves, which we called Lolita and Lalo. Naming the plant changed my relationship with it. Every morning, I would walk into the living room and say good morning to each leaf. This year, my girlfriend and I moved in together. And for our new apartment, we bought 6 plants so far, and we named them all. I always laugh when I come across funny names like a Wi-Fi network called Wu-Tang Lan, or a Sphinx cat, which is a cat without fur, called Nudicris. So we took our time to come up with names that really resonated with us. This is Loretta. We named her that because she reminded us of Lola. This plant is Ziggy Marlifi because it gave us reggae vibes. Unfortunately, Ziggy is struggling a little bit because we don't have a lot of natural light coming in. This is George from the jungle because these things here, they kind of reminded us of lianas. This is Bella because she's so beautiful and because her base brought a ballerina to mind. This is Matsumoto. He used to keep guard in our hallway. We pictured him as our own little samurai who would scare the bad guys away. Unfortunately, Matsu was struggling with the lack of daylight there, so we moved into my girlfriend's office, where he's now thriving and keeping the bad guys away. And finally, this is Sven. This is my personal plant in my own office, and I had trouble coming up with a name. In the meantime, my girlfriend started calling it Sven. I said, stop calling it Sven, it doesn't have a name yet. But of course the name stuck, and in the end, well, this is Sven. So now that the plants have names, they're no longer just decoration. It's like they've taken on a personality. I just love having a chat with them during the day. It puts me in a good mood.
As a new plant parent, I can use all the help I can get to keep our plants healthy. And one thing I've learned is not to overwater them.
A plant has more likelihood of surviving if you underwater the plant versus overwatering the plant.
That's Christopher Griffin, aka the Plant Queen. His class Plants at Home has taught me so much about keeping Sven, Matsu and the rest of the team healthy. It's available on Skillshare, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with expert teachers like the Plant Queen. With thousands of classes on topics like design, crafts, film and productivity, it's the perfect place to learn a new skill, master your craft or start your side hustle. I've been a paying member for years. And here's a fun fact. Nathaniel Drew's Skillshare class, How to Speak Confidently on Camera, helped me overcome my fear of sitting in front of a camera and hitting record. I also learned how to edit my YouTube videos with Ali Abdaal's Final Cut Pro class, back when I didn't even know how to add B-roll to a talking head video. And now I'm learning how to keep our plants healthy. Things like the importance of daylight, what to do when there's root rot, when to change the soil, and how to read the signs my plants are sending me, like when a leaf is turning yellow. If you want to learn how to take better care of your plants as well, pick up a new skill or start a side hustle, the first 500 people to click the link in the description below will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So thanks again Skillshare for sponsoring this video.
13. Stay away from people who drain your energy. Cut ties with people in your life or work who repeatedly cause drama or leave you feeling empty. I like how Anne-Laure Lecomte of Nest Labs put it in a tweet. I can put everyone in my life into 2 categories: energy vampires and energy fairies. Energy vampires drain me. Energy fairies make me feel inspired. Another way of looking at it is, if life is a building, does this person take me to the penthouse or to the basement? I worked with a consultant once many years ago when I still worked as a corporate lawyer, who left me feeling drained after each interaction. I was dependent on him for my work though, so I would listen to his daily complaints about how he was constantly putting fires out left and right and he wasn't able to build anything. When the project was over, he wanted to stay in touch because he felt like we had become such good friends. But that had not been my experience. I was actually glad the project was over. It had been one-way traffic where he would just offload his daily stress onto me while showing very little interest in how I was or how I was doing. I didn't know this framework back then, but he had definitely not been taking me to the penthouse. 14. Do something that matters. One thing that drains my energy is when I spend too much time doing things I feel I have to do but don't find meaningful. Of course, I understand like certain tasks need to get done even if I don't feel like it, like a difficult project at work or a chore at home. But when I have to spread myself too thin, it can start to feel like my life revolves around waking up and sitting behind a conveyor belt that's going at a pace I can hardly keep up with. What makes a real difference is when I have enough time in my life to spend on things I find meaningful. If you're feeling drained, burned out even, it might be a good idea to explore whether you spend enough time on things that you value. If you can find that in your job, that's great. For many of us though, that's not the case. Your job helps pay the bills and perhaps lets you develop valuable skills and grow as a person, but may not necessarily feel very meaningful. And that's okay. What matters more is that there's something in your life that gives you a sense of purpose. Whether that's spirituality, raising family, starting a side hustle, volunteering, training the kids' soccer team, there are so many options. 15. Keep a journal. After I journaled on and off for years, I started journaling consistently about 2 years ago. Journaling is a lot like tending to a garden. At first, you're just getting the basics down, focusing on the surface level details. But as time goes on and you nurture it, you start to feel more connected and comfortable. That's when you can dig a bit deeper, planting seeds of personal thoughts and being more intentional with what you share. Journaling can be about so much more than recording your daily activities, which really is more like keeping a diary. It can be a way to talk to yourself and feel like you're not alone. It can help relieve anxiety, make sense of things going on in your life, help you feel more settled, explore ideas and concepts, track your progress, and achieve your goals. It can also improve your health and change your outlook on life. Oh, and by the way, if you're new to journaling and you don't know what to write about, prompts can be really helpful. I created a list of 100 journaling prompts that you can download for free by clicking the link in the description below. 16. Be a tourist in your own city. When you're on holiday in a foreign country, everything is new and exciting. All your senses are engaged. The colors, the architecture, the way the people look and act, the sounds, the smells. Everywhere you look, there's something interesting to experience. Compare that to how many of us live in our own city. Everything is familiar and we're often in a rush to get things done. And when we do have time off, we often feel exhausted and end up lying on the sofa watching a movie. Becoming a tourist in your own city is a way to break out of your regular routine and slow down. Just wander around town without a plan. Pretend this place is new to you and just look around. What are the people doing? What do they look like? And what about the architecture? Is there a dominant style? How does the city feel? And smell? Something that I found particularly helpful is to get a book about the history of the city you live in. Reading that will bring its past back to life. The key is to let go of any preconceived notions you may have about this place you think you know so well, and instead have an open mindset. 17. Limit small talk. Have real conversations instead. This is probably more important for introverts like myself than for extroverts. Honestly, I think this is valuable for everyone. There is a place for small talk, of course, especially when you're speaking to someone you just met for the first time. But some people never go deeper. All they talk about is the latest football results, all the terrible things that are going on in the world, and Leonardo DiCaprio's dating life. And I get it, small talk is social glue. But to someone like me, if that's our entire conversation, it's exhausting. So if you want to make a positive change in 2025, focus on building close, meaningful relationships and having real conversations. 18. Clean up at night so you can start the day fresh. Have you ever walked into a kitchen full of dirty dishes the morning after a party? Doesn't feel great, right? It's one thing to have your kitchen look like this after a big night, but if you have dirty dishes in the sink every single morning, it sends a message. It tells your mind that yesterday's mess is still lingering, weighing you down before the day even begins. But if you take just a few minutes each night to clean up, you give yourself the gift of a fresh start in the morning. It's not just about aesthetics. It's a metaphor for living intentionally. Clear away yesterday's clutter and leave behind the worries and dramas of the day. That way, you start each new morning with a clean slate, ready to embrace whatever lies ahead. 19. Consume inspiring content. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, I have one of his books here, taught that we are like a garden containing good seeds and bad seeds within us. The question is, which seeds do we water and nurture? When we nurture the good seeds, the bad seeds naturally weaken. I stopped checking the news daily because it was nurturing the seeds of fear and anxiety. You know, when you watch the news at night, the anchor may start by saying good evening, but then he spends the next 20 minutes telling you why it isn't a good one. So now I make it a habit to consume inspiring content. That could be a wholesome show like Queer Eye on Netflix, podcasts like This American Life, or books of course. If you're up for it, you could even go a level deeper by creating content about what inspires you. You might reflect on it in a private journal or share your thoughts through a video, article, or online newsletter. 20. Call your family and friends instead of texting them. We have a WhatsApp group with my family where we share life updates and pictures of holidays, birthdays, and trips we go on. The tone is mostly light and positive. But when I call my parents or siblings, I hear the real stories, the nuances and struggles behind the facade of fun. And the same goes for my friends. Sending a text message may be easier, but we are wired for connection, and that's best done in person. When that's not possible, jump on a call. 21. Learn to say no. We often say yes because it feels uncomfortable to say no, not because we really want to say yes. We fear being seen as unhelpful, arrogant, or rude even. And in the short term, saying yes is the easier option. It helps us dodge that awkwardness. But saying yes too often comes at a price. Every time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. The tricky part is that the level of commitment can be very different. When you say no, you're simply turning down one option. But when you say yes, you're saying no to everything else out there you could be doing in that same time. By getting comfortable with saying no, you create the space to say yes to the things that truly matter to you and commit fully to them. 22. Go for a walk every day. Walking daily is one of the healthiest habits you can adopt. It increases your cardiovascular fitness, it helps reduce body fat, you get exposure to sunlight, and the fresh air clears your head and helps you wake up naturally. Much better than having coffee within 5 minutes of waking up. For the past 12 months, I've started almost every single day with an hour-long walk outside. It's a habit by now, I don't even think about it anymore. Even on weekends, my first inclination upon waking up is to wash my face, get dressed, and be out the door within 10 minutes. I love seeing dogs during my walks and feeling the morning breeze on my face. And it's also the perfect time to catch up on my favorite podcast, although I think half of the time I just walk in silence. 23. Schedule 1 to 2 hours per day for personal projects. The poet Anish Moshkani once said, "Some people do what they love for work, and some people do what they have to for work, so they can do what they love when they're not working. And neither is more noble." We don't all need to have a job that's also our passion. In fact, for most people that simply isn't the case, and that's totally fine. What truly matters is having something in your life that you love. And I'm not talking about binge-watching Netflix. I mean something that inspires you, that nurtures your soul, and allows you to express who you really are. However, making time for that can be tough if you don't schedule it. I recently heard relationship therapist Esther Perel say on a podcast that many people bring their best selves to work and leave the leftovers for home. That's why you shouldn't leave this to chance. Block out 1 to 2 hours for personal projects where you can truly focus and won't be interrupted. It might even mean getting up an hour early. You can use this time to finally start a side hustle, dive deep into samurai history, learn a new language, start a journal. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Setting aside time for something that inspires you can genuinely change your life. 24. Practice gratitude. In Happiness Advantage, Sean Aker discusses how keeping a gratitude journal can rewire your brain to be more optimistic. Here's how it works. When you write down 3 things you're grateful for at the end of the day, your brain starts actively searching for those moments throughout the day. For instance, if you're rushing to catch the train and just make it in time, you might forget that moment a few minutes later. However, if you know that you have to write it down at the end of the day, you're more likely to notice and appreciate it. So what you do at the end of the day can significantly shape what you pay attention to during the day. 25. Get outside and connect with nature. For most of human history, we lived in or near nature, surrounded by its sounds and rhythms which are embedded in our DNA. Yet today, more than half of the world's population resides in cities, and that number is growing. We commute in cars, work in offices, and often find ourselves glued to our devices. While modern life obviously has many benefits, it also comes with a cost. The further we drift from the natural world, the more disconnected we may feel. That's why it's important to spend time in nature. It's calming, soothing, and can even boost your immune system. You can't control the cards you're dealt in life. There will be joyful highs and painful lows, but nature is always there, ready to recharge you. If you're interested in even more habits to make 2025 your best year ever, check out my video 5 Easy Dutch Habits for a Happier, Healthier Life right here. And I'd love to hear your comments on the habits we covered today. And if you have any recommendations for habits that you feel I should try out, I'd also love to hear them. So thanks for watching. I hope these habits were helpful. Have a great day and take care. Bye-bye.